Mark Hanna, Iowa State University Extension Ag Engineer. End users of grain and oil seeds are becoming more interested in quality traits such as oil and protein content, presence of genetically modified attributes, and even production techniques such as organic. Corn and soybeans are evolving from bulk commodities to identity-preserved products. As markets develop, growers need to evaluate techniques to keep grain segregated. It's important to determine the level of grain purity acceptable for a particular market. A goal of 100% purity will be more difficult to attain than a goal of 99% purity. There are numerous places grain may be commingled both on and off farm. Mixing is cumulative, and contamination from planting, pollination, harvesting, and transportation needs to be considered. Because of its complexity and the numerous areas grain can become trapped, combine cleanout is perhaps the most important step in equipment sanitation for identity-preserved grains. Following the cleanout procedures in this program will minimize grain mixing during field harvest. Limited measurements have shown 1 to 2 bushels of grain and foreign material remaining in the combine after the unloading auger has been operated empty for a full minute. If all unwanted grain exits in the next hopper full, impurity within that hopper is only about 1%, and a simple flush of harvested grain would eliminate the problem. A more likely scenario, however, is that a few seeds will exit randomly during subsequent harvest. Such impurity could be troublesome for some markets and cause loads to be rejected. During the cleanout, follow a plan to systematically clean out specific areas of the combine, going from entry to exit and top to bottom. Areas include the head, feeder house, cylinder or rotor and concave, cleaning shoe, clean grain tank, elevators and sensors, straw walkers, and chopper. An important first step is to check the operator's manual for specific suggestions on cleanout procedures. It's a good idea to drive across the end rows, try and dislodge a little grain before the actual emptying procedure or cleanout procedure. One of the first steps is often to remove the head from the combine. Of course, the first thing you want to do is mechanically lock and block that head up with that cylinder stop before you get underneath anything to start to work on it. Move the combine to a designated cleaning area. We're using a tarp and we're going to put that under the combine as we do some of our cleaning here, just particularly to get an idea of how much grain is still left in the combine after we supposedly had run the auger for a minute or two in the field to try and empty it. This step wouldn't have to be done for everyone, but it does help with sanitation, so it may be something worth considering. To clean the feeder house, we're going to lower that feeder head. Of course, the first thing is to honk the horn just for safety, make sure that bystanders know that engine starting and something's going to happen. But feeder house will be lowered. You see some grain already kind of starting to run out there. We'll do some mechanical cleaning of that, both just manually by hand, and then we're going to use some compressed air also to try and clean that out. Following some manual cleaning in the feeder house while we get some compressed air out, start to blow off some of the material just off the exterior of the feeder house. But then on this particular model of combine, we've got a couple of access doors in the top of it, and the idea here is to get that compressed air wand as close as you can in there, blow out anything you can see through there, and see if we can't get that material coming out the front of the feeder house. So we'll spend a few minutes doing that. Raise the feeder house to work in the stone trap area. Be sure to use the safety stops. Okay, getting underneath the head again, put down the safety stop. Then we're going to work in the area of the stone trap here. Okay, after we've worked on the feeder house, now we're going to work on the stone trap area. There's a lot of grain typically that's contained there right at the front of the cylinder, and we're going to open that up, dump what's in there, and then again get in there and manually take out material as well as use some compressed air to try and get at anything we can see in there. Almost need a bar to get in there and poke a little bit with.
Once we get it started, it's not too bad.
We want to get into the combine and open up as many access areas as we can to get things cleaned out. On most combines there's going to be some access on hopefully both sides of the machine. Right now we're removing an access door that's basically between that cylinder and cleaning shoe area around the clean grain augers. And it's going to be important to try and get in as many places as possible to do some of that physical cleaning. We're going to be doing again some manual cleaning and also get that compressed air wand in there and try and blow as much as we can out of the machine basically and get rid of it that way. Use compressed air as well as manual cleaning to try and get as much grain removed from the machine as possible through access doors basically in the cleaning and separating area, as well as kind of the rear of the threshing area here. Some access doors will be on the top of the machine. We're getting in on this particular machine, the access doors, to look at the straw walkers from up on top, so we'll be doing that. An upper access door allows getting in on top of the straw walkers. The area is fairly clean. The cobs are quite well shelled here, although there are a few kernels here and there. It's important to try and get to as many kernels as one can, either blowing them out with some compressed air. If you have to get inside on those walkers, they'll typically need to be protected. Check the owner's manual for that, using some carpeting, rubber mats, that type of thing. On this combine, access doors open to drain some grain from cross augers inside the clean grain tank. Compressed air can be used to dislodge grain in the clean grain tank. Final cleaning in many areas, besides with compressed air, involves using some type of vacuum. This is just shop vac to pick up things that can't be easily gotten by hand or with broom. Areas under the augers, the clean grain tank being one of the areas where the shop vac may be useful. Often areas that are easier to get to include the clean grain and tailings elevators. There's usually grain resting at the bottom, an area that you can get into and clean out reasonably easily. After some manual cleaning, using again some compressed air, the object is always trying to get all the grain that you can see and get out of the machine. In the cleaning shoe, sieves and chaffer area, it can be difficult to get in there and clean, but again, get in and get what can be done. Open and close those sieves, try and work material loose that way to get that out. And again, if a shop vac can help here, something that's reachable, that's another option. Grain and other debris resting on the rear axle or in the chopper or spreader should be removed. An important part of the job is to make sure that all the shielding, particularly safety shields, is put back in place, certainly before this machine is ready to go. Those shields are important. Maybe one of the most important parts of the harvest operation. Shielding is there to protect you, the operator. For the head, it's again the idea is to manually pick up all the ears, get as much material out of there. We're going to collect some here in the bucket here to save the grain, and then we'll follow up with a shop vac, broom, whatever, to try and get all the loose kernels out of there. Large quantities of grain can be trapped underneath snouts. Lift shields over the snouts to remove the grain. Cleaning out the grain platform or the soybean head is going to require a little bit different strategy, but again, looking at some of the areas where the grain's going to accumulate. Certainly right down along the cutter bar with the stems and pods still down there, seeds, a lot of material accumulate there, and certainly back up around the grain auger. The platform auger, I should say, on the grain platform here, on all sides of it. Also, there may be some material that gets, this reel's pretty clean right now, but some material that gets kind of caught on the reel, that type of thing. It's fairly typical that even after the combine appears to be cleaned out with some emptying in the field through the unloading auger, there's 50 pounds or more of ears, grain, certainly fines out there that can give a problem. And really the bulk of that material by weight tends to be in the grain and certainly the ears, and that's the kind of stuff that we're interested in that needs to be removed from the machine. Red-colored corn seeds show potential impurity levels. Limited field tests have shown that after about an hour's cleaning, grain first exiting the clean grain elevator may be 10% impure. During the first minute, impurity levels may fall to 6%, 3%, then to 1% and below. Other areas that should be cleaned during harvest include the inside of grain transport boxes. With each piece of equipment, one needs to evaluate where the cleanout places are. On this particular grain cart at the base of the transfer auger, there's a cleanout port and a shield that covers it, and one can just loosen that. Two bolts that hold that on and open up to remove any grain that's there. Each piece of equipment is a little different. This grain cart with unloading auger has basically a trap door into a sump area for the unloading auger. It's ordinarily operated by the cylinder that you see here. But again, to fully clean out this unit, there's a lower mounting place for that cylinder to basically operate a couple of trap doors right in the bottom of the unloading auger here. By opening that on up, then we can clean out as good as possible, get as much access into the unloading auger for this grain cart to further clean up. In addition to the combine, there are certainly other sources of contamination. The grain cart and grain wagons or grain trucks getting it into the farmstead, but certainly the auger, cleaning out around that, and the bin site itself. Many places where some handling, some augers happen, and trucking on into the commercial grain elevator, that type of thing. So there are certainly other sources of contamination out there, and one needs to be aware of those issues and proceed with sanitation and cleanliness as much as possible with those. If required, be sure to document and sign cleanout records after work is completed. Experience with your own combine, suggestions in the owner's manual, and requirements of a specific market will improve your techniques. An efficient system goes through the combine from top to bottom and entry to exit. Be extremely safety conscious and don't go near combine openings if the machine is operating. Using these techniques, along with others for planting, grain handling, and transport, will help to ensure an identity-preserved crop.